to do this, because I know an injury to Odegaard, and that's Eze playing 10, 12 games, Champions League, he has to be forced into play. And this is what Pep does. Pep rests players, rotates players, and brings them in at the right time. Look at all the players, they're coming back right now. They're coming back right now. We've got players going out. We've got players that are injured. We've got players that are struggling. We've got players that are mental. And this is where I want Dr. S to come in, yeah, because I want to talk about the psychological impact that this has on players. Not just Eze, by the way. Not just Eze, but on Odegaard as well. I want you to speak on the impact on the psychological element or impact on both Eze and Odegaard right now, especially with them battling for the same position, because he doesn't play them both together. And sorry, I'm going on a monologue, but I'm really kind of like, I'm emotionally in tune when it comes to this. I'm really like, I need to get some answers from you, Dr. S. So just chat to me, man.
Yeah. So I think we can all typically agree that a captain tends to be a reflection of the manager, right? Fair statement. Would you have any dispute to that, Craig? Either?
No.
George Graham, Tony Adams, reflection. Both hard men. Pause. But yeah, definitely.
Right. So as we know, this manager is a very stubborn individual, and he is invested in proving people wrong. We know that one of the greatest captains and club legends, and Tony Adams, has already come out and said that we are not going to win anything with Odegaard as a captain, because at the end of the day, he isn't a captain. And we know that is ultimately one of the primary reasons why Odegaard isn't getting dropped for anything, simply because if Arteta starts, dropping Odegaard, if Arteta were to even take off the armband, it would be disputing that narrative, that we had already established, that Arteta is that he is an omnipotent, infallible genius. The fact that he would have to admit a failure, that is not viable. So Odegaard, much like a lot of these players, they have massively dropped off a cliff from 3 years ago when we had first bottled the league, when we were top of the season for 93% of the season. And and we kind of talked a little bit about it in the chat earlier today. This is a psychological disorder. So for anyone who's interested, in the chat, it is called repetition compulsion. It is recreating, it is replaying traumatic experiences in one's life. And what Arteta has been doing, he has not only recreated the experiences that he had personally as a player playing for Arsenal in 2013-14, because mind you, time is a flat circle. Shout out to you, Matthew McConaughey. Time is a flat circle, and history tends to repeat itself if things do not, if there is no looking back at history and seeing where things went wrong. In 2013-2014, we were top of the league at Christmas and New Year's. And then on February 1st, 2014, we went to Anfield and we got smacked up 5-1. And our season went downhill ever since. In 2015-2016, very similar to this season, how all the teams had dropped off. We were, everyone in the media was saying, "Oh, this is Arsenal's to lose because there are no other, typical competitors, keeping up pace with them." And then that was the season that Leicester won the league. And if I'm also not mistaken, I think Mikel was even captain of the Arsenal squad at that time. So fast forward to now being a manager, where we were top of the league for 93% of the season. And we were flying. we were absolutely flying. And then we had that Saliba injury. We did not do anything that January to bring in any type of reinforcements to reaffirm that that this season was going to be our season, that we were going to get over the line. We were complacent, which is a very typical sentiment at this club, simply because we take such pride and such joy being top of the league at Christmas, being top of the league at New Year's Eve, being top of the league in January, being still being in the FA Cup, being being top of the Champions League table, like being top at all these places halfway through a season. And people unfortunately develop this type of complacency that that we're just going to coast through for the rest of the season just because we had done so well previously. Unfortunately, this manager has applied all of that trauma onto this squad. This entire squad is traumatized, no shadow of a doubt. And I think it was Taryn. Shout out to BBK as well. He had asked, is it harder to win the league first or to retain? Rather to retain being champions the following season. And for this club, for this manager, and for these players, the hardest thing is to win a trophy. It is to get over the line because there is a massive psychological block. And it all stems back down to the manager because at every time, both as a player and a manager, when the heat is on some Glenn Fry, settings, like when the heat is on and pressure, and the pressure mounts, because everyone knows, like everyone always loves saying, how we have failed to get over the line, and how we know that as a big club we need to win silverware. Like as a big club, we should be winning silverware annually just by default of being the third largest club in England and being a globally recognized brand. So the fact that we have gone on for over 2 decades not winning the league, and for the fact that we have gone on for now, going on 6 years, not winning any trophy for that matter, that has built up over time. It has